Sales are up, kind of. Inventory is down, kind of. And prices are down. The August numbers are now official from the Toronto Real Estate Board, and we're going to go over them in today's video. Now, there's 3 months every year where I put less enthusiasm, at least, on the numbers that come out by the Real Estate Board. That is January, August, and December. Because these are months where not a lot typically happens, and there's like the next month after is what I'm really kind of focused on. But don't click off the video. There's still some good intel on what happened in August, so we're going to break it all down in today's video. My name is Tom Storey. I'm a real estate agent here in the city of Toronto. If you like these type of videos, get subscribed to the channel, like this video. If you want to work with a real estate team that understands fundamentally what is happening in the market, you can book a call with us in the first link in the description. So let's take a look at the numbers together here and show you what really is going on and what you need to know. Okay, so we're going to start with the year over year. So you got 2025 August on the left here, 5,200 sales. So sales were up from 2024 by 2.3%. Okay, not really a big deal. But for a while there, sales were continuously going down. So this is the second month in a row that year over year sales have been higher than what we saw in 2024. New listings, we still had 14,000 new listings versus almost 13,000 last year. So the new listings were up at 9.4%. If we then jump over to active listings, so still 27,500 active listings on the market versus only 22,000 last year. Now, again, keep in mind, this is year over year. So this number here in active listings has actually come down from, we were over 30,000 at one point not that long ago. And then you look at, where the prices are at, just over $1 million versus $1,077,000. So prices down about 5.2% from all the boards combined. Now let's take a look at the actual property types and the average prices that we saw in August. So we'll start with detached homes. Detached homes in the 416 area code were still trading over $1.5 million. 905 about $1.25 million. Semi-detached 1.13, townhouses 915, and condos 667. So you did see decreases in pretty much every property type, I guess, other than townhouse, technically on a year over year basis. I don't really think the entire 416 detached market is down a full 10% from last year. I think it depends on what type of detached home sold values, because average price includes outliers, right? So I don't know if it's really like the same house is 10% less. I don't think that's the reality right now. Same thing with condos. They're showing down only 2% from last year, but like last month condos showed down 8%. So it all depends on like what type of condo, what type of house sold in that month when we're going to use average price. So just keep that in mind, because for most property types, you are seeing prices either just stabilize, which you're seeing for Toronto, like semi-detached homes and some detached properties, at least in 2025, where condos, you are still seeing downward pressure on pricing depending on the property type. Now let's take a look at the city of Toronto and what happened with sales volume, because what we had seen so far this year is from January to February to March to April to May, like we were jumping up every month in terms of how many sales were happening. Overall, these numbers are still fairly low historically. And then we dipped down a little bit in July. You can see the August numbers jump back down to closer to what we saw, like more than February, but less than March. And again, in any historical context of looking at Toronto Real Estate Board, it kind of makes sense that sales are lower in August. That kind of always happens. But it was surprising to see that the sales were over 2,000 in July, especially looking back to like the July sales had more than April. So we saw a softening in August versus July in terms of the sales. But historically, that's kind of what you would see for the sales data. Now we got to take a look at the end of August for everything that was available for sale, at least in the city of Toronto. Here's how it broke down. So there was just over 2,300 detached properties, making up roughly 25% of the entire market. Semi-detached homes, still not a ton to choose from, making up still less than 5% of the market with 463 for sale. Condos, this is the story that we've been talking about really for the last year and a half. The Toronto real estate market is a condo market. Condo apartments on their own make up 60% of everything for sale right now. You add in condo townhouses at another 7.2%, like almost 68% of everything that was for sale, still available for sale at the end of August, had a condo fee of some sort. We really have been in two different markets this entire time. And the jump a lot of people are trying to make is like sell the condo, buy the semi, or sell the condo, buy the detached. What's happening is because of the price decreases you're seeing here and the longer it's taking, the inventory continues to build up. And obviously investors play a part in this in terms of selling their properties and not being there on the buyer side demand. Attached row townhouse is a freehold property type. No condo fees attached to it, only 2.3% of the market. And then other would be like co-op condos. And there's a few other categories making up less than 1%. So here's how it breaks down for what was for sale at the end of the month. Now, when we talk about active listings, that number we talked about at the beginning of this video was, 27,495. That's how many properties were for sale based on the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board's report. If you actually break it down into different areas, here's how it splits up. So City of Toronto represented almost 35% of the active listings, just under 10,000 this month at 9,644. Halton, you got almost 3,000. Peel and York combined are more than Toronto. So I know I talk about this a lot in these videos, but I just want to clarify it. It's called the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board now because we've combined different areas. But how a lot of the times the media reports on it is like, Toronto listings, 27,000. There is not 27,000 listings for sale in Toronto. There is 9,000. Peel region is 5,400. York is 5,300. Durham, 2,600. And then you got Dufferin and Simcoe County wrapping up the list. So this is how the listings split up based on where they are located. Here's another way of looking at it just to give you an idea of like the overall numbers, what it's made up. Toronto does represent 35% of all the active listings, which should make sense just based on our population size. You then got Halton region, Peel and York both making up about 20%. And then Durham is about 10%, Simcoe just under 5%. We got to look at months of inventory. Keep in mind that months of inventory only matters if it stays for a period of time, usually more than 6 months. That's how we can really kind of fundamentally understand where the market might be going. So your detached homes in the City of Toronto sitting at 4.4 months of inventory at the end of August. That puts detached homes relatively in a balanced but pushing towards a buyer's market. Semi-detached homes are in between seller's market and balanced market. Condos still sitting at 6.6 months of inventory, so firmly in a buyer's market, which they have been in for, it's been over 12 months now that we've been sitting over 6 months of inventory for condos, and at least all of 2025 as well. We got up over 7 at one point earlier this year, so we've come down a little bit, but still very much in buyer's market territory. Condo towns, very similar, 5.9 months of inventory, and then you got your attached row townhouse at 3.2 months of inventory. Now, I'm showing you the City of Toronto here. The micro markets are very, very important as well. So if you are watching this video and maybe you're watching it to get information, maybe you're an active buyer or seller, this is all well and good, but all that matters is what are you trying to buy, what are you trying to sell, and what's going on in that specific pocket. One other thing I wanted to touch on was the lease data. So the lease data doesn't come out in these reports or get reported on that much, but we've had a ton of leases happening. Even though the rental prices are falling, the inventory that is coming with the record amount of condos being delivered to people that bought them pre-construction, I would guess like 70% of those end up on the rental market, plus potentially the purpose-built rental side of things. The Urbanation data said that for Q2 in 2025, we had the most amount of leases we've ever had. So what's clear to me is that the need for housing hasn't changed. You add up the lease transactions with the sale transactions, we're probably pretty similar to where we've been in other years. There's just way more leases happening versus the amount of sales. Why is that? Well, could be affordability, could be that people don't have the confidence to get into the market on the buying side of things, could be tariff related. There's a million different reasons why it could or couldn't happen, but it is interesting to see that the lease numbers continue to build even though the lease prices are going down, but there's more taking place than we've ever seen before. My name's Tom Storey. Hope you enjoyed that update, and I'll see you soon.